2,700 soldiers will keep running patrols across South Africa until March. But some defense analysts fear this deployment is starting to sound permanent. And every time the president extends the deployment, it costs you and me millions. We've roped in the director of African Defense Review, Darren Olivier, to discuss this. Darren, thank you so much for your time. Let's start off with the constant deployment. Is that a concern for you?
Morning. Yes, it really is. The fact is that the SANDF is not large enough to sustain a deployment of this size indefinitely. There simply aren't enough, soldiers in the infantry or in the reserves as well to do this, as well as doing things like border patrol, peacekeeping, and still having capacity to do surge operations like we saw in July. So, 2,700 troops is a fair amount. It seems quite small, but actually, in terms of the SANDF, it's almost a brigade size, and it really can't be sustained long term. This is going to start cutting into things like training schedules, rotations, and again, the ability to deploy forces again in the future.
The constant need for deployment of the SANDF, is that a symptom of something else, something deeper? And if it is, how do we fix it?
Absolutely, that's a good question. The SANDF obviously has a mission objective to back up the SAPS internally as and when needed. That is part of its mandate. However, this is supposed to be only in absolute emergencies, as we saw in July, and not as a regular ongoing thing. The problem we have is that the SAPS is evidently failing nationwide, not fit for purpose, and needs serious reform. The problem is that we're increasingly using the SANDF to back up failing government departments at the same time as the SANDF budget is being cut year on year. And is, at the point where the SANDF itself is in crisis and unable to deploy many assets that it has because of that crisis in funding. So this is really an issue where you're trying to use one failing department to prop up another one, and not addressing the root cause, which is that the SAPS is no longer capable of performing the role we require of it.
You speak about budget. What is the budget for the redeployment, and can we afford it?
It's going to be a few million. The budget is not the issue per se. It's rather pricey, but again, it comes out of the joint operations budget, and it has been considered. So I wouldn't consider this to be the major problem at this stage. The issue really is, again, the usage of troops and the fact that there aren't enough troops to go around. To give you an idea, this year alone, Treasury has cut the number of reserve force man days from 1.3 million to just over 9,000. This means that in a typical year, the SANDF could deploy 13,000 reserves to kind of bulk up and back up the regular force. This year, they can only provide 10,500. So already you have 2,500 fewer troops available in any given month or week or day, and now you're then pulling in additional forces from the regular forces over here. So I wouldn't say that the budget is the prime problem here. It's certainly an impact. My chief concern is numbers.
Darren, you're saying this is a symptom of the fact that the SAPS is failing. The buck has got to stop somewhere. Somebody's got to fix it. Where do you see the solution coming from?
Yeah, that I cannot answer. It's been so long that this has been going on. It seems to have gotten worse over time. There doesn't appear to be much, serious will at cabinet level or in parliament to seriously address this and get to the root causes. Instead, there's this, a constant kicking the can down the road, an assumption that there's always enough time to resolve this. Unfortunately, as we're seeing again and again and again, that's not true. The country is becoming less stable. The need for a competent and well-equipped SAPS is increasing all the time, and yet, it appears to be getting worse.
It was a tough question. I apologize. I thought maybe I'd put you on the spot and you could provide some brilliant advice. But you're right. It's a worrying situation. Darren, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. The Director of African Defense Review, Darren Olivier, joining us on NewsLink.